Welcome to the Unconsumed podcast. I'm Lee Corning.
And I am Chris Ryder. Thanks for joining us today. What's today? Today is December 13th. The year's almost over.
That's correct.
Next week will be the much anticipated holiday edition. Ooh. You're not going to want to miss that. Some great stuff for the holiday season. Today we've got some fun stuff. We're going to go through another list here. This is a list that last week you talked a lot about Bitcoin,
right.
And you were kind of schooling me on a lot of that, which was great.
I could use some schooling today, though.
Yeah, we're going to talk about movies. I have watched a lot of movies in my time, not so much recently, but we're going to go through kind of a list of the top 10 movies of all time. I'll tell you kind of where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll also talk about the worst reviewed movies of all time.
Okay.
That's a little bit harder to pick out because there's millions of terrible movies.
Okay.
And then on the best and worst, we've got some, this might be actually helpful as opposed to just entertaining.
Okay.
Best advice you've received, worst advice you've received.
Right.
And then, as always, we'll conclude with what's annoying Lee and Chris this week.
I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're always looking forward to that. So, sound good? Should be fun?
Yeah, game on. Let's do it.
All right, so let's start with the movies. Now, in 1998, the American Film Institute was celebrating 100 years of American films.
So the logical thing to do is
create a list.
Right.
In very ESPN fashion, create a list and then make a show about the list.
Now it's the Unconsumed podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We're going to, next week when we do our 8th show, we're going to do our top 8 podcasts of our own, of all time. We'll rank them.
Oh, just, other people's podcasts?
No, just ours.
Okay, so we'll just say the top 8 episodes. Okay, I love it.
So, at any rate, when they did this, they got a bunch of movie critics together, and then they settled on a top 100 list of all time.
Right.
Back at that time, I had really little social things going on. I had no life to speak of.
And what year was this? You said 99?
This was 98, 99. Yeah.
So you're like, what?
21, 22, 23.
Okay, so
right
pre-marriage, pre-kid.
Right after graduation, I moved to take a job outside of Dallas. I worked with everybody who was like 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I had no friends, so I'd come home on the weekend and knock out a couple of these movies. So, yeah, I'm sorry to say I had,
these,
a lonely few. These things happen.
Right.
But it wouldn't have made me the man I am today. Okay, so top 10 list was kind of created in 1998. In 2008, they did a 10th anniversary edition where they like recalibrated it, but I'm not really quite sure what that
was. There a big shift between the two?
There was a couple things that shifted, yeah. A couple things that were in the top 10 moved out, and a couple that weren't moved way up. Raging Bull was one that moved from, I don't know, somewhere in the top 20 to somewhere in the top 5, which was kind of strange. Nothing new happened in that movie. There weren't any movies from that last 10 years that moved into the top 10 or top 20 that I know of. So, and since then, I don't think there's hugely blockbuster movies that would crack this top 10 anyway. So I still think this is the right top 10.
Okay. So my question on that is, how does 10 years change 100 years of history?
It doesn't. It's just another opportunity to get on TV. They realized that this created a ton of clicks and interest, and people watched the show, and so they wanted to do it again.
All right, fair enough.
So I'm interested to know, when I go down this, whether or not you've seen these. I'm going to put the over-under on ones you've seen in this list at 3. I think you will have seen 3 of the 10.
So you're saying I've only seen 3 of the top 10 movies of all time?
I think you will have seen 3 of the top 10.
Care to make a wager?
You think you've seen more or fewer?
So I think I've seen 3 or more.
Oh, you think you've seen more? Okay, well, we'll see.
Well, okay, so is the bet on 3 or is the bet on over 3?
I will say that I'll give you the over.
No. I'm saying if it lands on 3, is
it push? I win.
Okay, so it's over 3.
That's over 3.
Okay, I'm gonna teach.
Okay, the number one movie
in red.
The number one movie of all time, and this is pretty much widely accepted, is Citizen Kane from 1941. Has a 100% Rotten Tomatoes score, critics score. Directed and starred Orson Welles, and it was a landmark achievement in cinematography and directing and the script, and it was loosely based on William Randolph Hearst, I believe, but about you know, a media magnate of the time.
Okay, I have
Citizen
not,
Kane.
I have not seen that.
Everyone would say that's the best movie ever. You have not seen it.
I need to check that out immediately though, because I constantly hear Citizen Kane references.
Yeah. Now,
is that the one with Rosebud in it?
Yeah, Rosebud.
Okay.
Exactly. You may not find it entirely enjoyable because it's, you know, from 1941, but you need to see it. It's like a classic. Like
Right.
you've read a lot of the classics.
I'm like a little bit lame in the sense that I don't need explosions and stuff for me to be like, oh, this is interesting.
I don't really either.
So I might. We'll see. I'll let you know when I watch it.
Great.
So what's the premise? Do you know?
Yeah, the premise is it's this guy who started from almost nothing.
Okay.
And built himself into this entirely important and influential media magnate. You know,
Okay.
ran for some government position, but, you know, kind of built from nothing type of guy.
Okay.
But not all that likable along the way.
Okay.
Did you ever see There Will Be Blood, by the way?
Yes.
So I think that's a similar path. Not quite as bombastic, probably, as that guy was, but that was a great movie. I really enjoyed that.
I like that. I like old West
Yeah.
time period movies. Check that out.
Okay, number 2, and this is my favorite movie of all time on the list. Casablanca from 1942.
I have also not seen Casablanca.
You need to see Casablanca as an American. But so this is the story. So Humphrey Bogart,
Right.
and there's so many lines that come from this movie.
Right. I was going to ask you what, like, one of the most.
Yeah, I think this is the start of a beautiful friendship. Play it again, Sam. Although they don't actually say "play it again, Sam" in the movie, he says "play it, Sam." And then someone else may say "play it again," you know.
Okay.
So there's there's a couple others, but it's, you know, the kind of the quintessential.
Isn't Bogart the guy that says Stella, and everyone says that all the time?
No,
Isn't
that's
in
is
Streetcar?
Marlon Brando from Streetcar Named Desire.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Marlon Brando is going to make an
appearance
on this list a couple of times.
all right.
He's on here twice.
I have not seen.
That's
Casablanca.
actually a good point. He may be the only actor that is in the top 10 twice. I think he is. That's a pretty cool thing.
Interesting.
Okay. So that's from 1942, Casablanca. You have not seen it. You roll
No.
for 2. Number 3, I think you've seen this one. The Godfather,
Yes.
Part 1. 1972, has a 99 critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Obviously a fantastic movie. Interestingly, Part 2, The Godfather Part 2, is the only sequel in the top 100.
Oh,
It comes in at number 32.
in the top 100.
Yeah. The only sequel. Actually, Empire Strikes Back may be in there too.
Yeah.
I think Empire Strikes Back may be in there, but I don't think
of
there's
other
another sequel.
other great sequels that should be there.
I don't know. I can't think of another great sequel.
Yeah, that'll be something.
In terms
for
of,
you.
like, you know, not popcorn movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Godfather.
Number 4, I don't think you've seen this one. Gone with the Wind.
I have seen Gone with
I
the
know
Wind.
you're familiar with it. You've seen the whole movie.
I've seen the whole movie.
Okay,
That's the one where they, like,
I wasn't counting on that.
burn the South down.
Yes.
Sherman's March or
Yes.
Georgia.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that.
Based on the book, obviously. That's from 1939, which has another movie in the top 10. Same year.
The Disney movie.
Close. Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
We're not quite there yet. But Wizard of Oz is also from 1939. Number 5, I'm sure you haven't seen this one, Lawrence of Arabia, with Peter O'Toole.
Not. Wait.
Peter O'Toole, Alec Guinness, Omar Sharif, and it's like the British occupation in Arabia.
Right. I thought it was like the French Foreign Legion.
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe they are French and not English. I think they're English.
All right.
Or maybe it's the English helping them fight off the French. I don't know.
I don't know.
I saw it and it was a snoozer.
Really?
Yeah, in today's standards, it's long. It's tough to watch, but you know, I saw it.
I'm not doing very well so far. We're through the top 5 movies, and
You've seen 2
Yeah.
through 5. That's not bad. 40%.
Well, you weren't counting on Gone with the Wind. So.
I wasn't counting on Gone with the Wind, but I still think I might have you. Okay, number 6, I know you've seen Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Because it's on all the time. 1939, like I said, as well. My wife's favorite movie. Little known fact, she can recite this movie beginning to end.
Right.
Yes. And we went to a sing-along watch thing at Flicks once, and she did. She was chirping the whole thing. And then another woman who was like a super fan was sitting here, and she was going. And it was like in stereo that they're like singing, you know, out of key, of course.
Right.
But like everything, every word of dialogue. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful.
Is that something that could land on your, this is what's annoying you this week?
Well, this didn't happen this week, but had we filmed podcast that week, that would have been up there. That would have made the list.
That's
okay.
Fantastic.
Number 7, I don't believe you have seen. From 1967, The Graduate.
I have seen The Graduate.
Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft. Well, you're gonna win this then. Yeah. So that's your third of the top 7.
Nice.
Are you trying to seduce me?
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Something very uncomfortable or something like that?
Yes.
So I got 1, 2.
You got 3.
I've got 4.
What was the 4th?
Wizard of Oz, The Graduate, Gone with the Wind, Godfather.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just covered
You
covered right there.
Number 8, I'm sure you haven't seen, but this is Marlon Brando's second appearance in the top 10, On the Waterfront from 1954.
Not only have I not seen it, I haven't
Never heard of it. So he's basically a dock worker that's kind of getting mixed up with, you know, some bad guys, but he was an aspiring boxer. This is where the line, I could have been a contender, comes from, if you've ever heard that. I could have been a contender.
I have heard that.
And also a big influence on one of your favorite movies, Rocky.
Right.
There you go.
And you mentioned Raging Bull. Raging Bull, what year was Raging Bull come out? Do you know?
It had to be early 70s.
Yeah, so
72, 4, something like that.
I think Rocky's from 73
5
or
or
75, somewhere in there.
I think it's 5.
So I wonder what kind of influence that did have. Because the market can't handle like that many rags to riches boxing stories.
Well, I think I read that Sylvester Stallone was, you know, highly influenced by On the Waterfront.
Gotcha. Well, there's that Doc's.
And he plays a similar kind of tough guy. You know, I mean, in the original Rocky, he's doing a little bit of muscle for the mob.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same idea.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So, number 9. This is the most recent movie in the group, Schindler's List, from 1993. You never saw that?
No, I remember when I was young, I was in grammar school at the time, and they were going to air it on TV.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and it was Spielberg said it had to be uncut. Yeah, I do remember that.
And I remember hearing about it at school and being like, "Oh, there's this movie going to be on TV tonight." And then I got home, and my mom was like, "You're not watching that."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Okay."
How old were you? This would have been 93 or probably aired in 94, 95.
4th, 5th grade.
Yeah. Well, it's a Holocaust movie. It's probably not great for a 5th grader to be watching. But really good movie.
So I haven't seen that, but I am quite aware of what goes on there.
It's not a feel-good movie.
No.
But worth seeing for sure. And then number 10, one of my other favorites in the list is Singing in the Rain from 1952. I assume you have not seen that.
I have not. And so is there
a lot of iconic moments from Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, and so there's the one guy, Fred Astaire. Is he in that?
No, Gene Kelly is.
But he's like kind of the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, same kind of thing. He's singing and dancing and handsome kind of thing. It also has Debbie Reynolds.
I don't know who that is.
So she just recently died. That's Princess Leia's mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she was just adorable. She's, I don't know, in her 20s at the time.
Okay, you know what year that one is?
That's 1952.
50.
Singing in the Rain. And there's a great, I have shown this to my son a bunch of times. He gets a kick out of it. There's a musical number in there called Make 'Em Laugh. So the supporting actor, I can't remember his name, but a really talented, you know, like physical comedian and great dancer. He does a number called Make 'Em Laugh, and it's just this extraordinary bit of physical musical comedy. You got to check it out.
There is a Family Guy, and we mention Family Guy occasionally here.
You mentioned Family Guy quite a bit.
Well, yeah. So there is a a segment in one of those where Stewie is dancing with Gene Kelly.
Oh, really?
So that's how I have
Yeah.
a visual on who's Gene Kelly.
I love that your entry into these these movie classics is via Stewie.
They're constantly referenced in these shows, and that's one of the things I think gives shelf life to these purely nonsense shows like
Yeah.
Family Guy, is that they reference classic things in culture and society.
Right.
And they're like, okay, yeah, these guys aren't all fluff.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
So those are the top 10. What's your favorite movie? What should be in there that isn't there, whether it's widely considered great or not?
That's a great question. What is yours, just off the top?
Mine is The Big Lebowski. That's my favorite movie.
You
I could
love
watch it over and over, and I have watched it a ton. And the more you watch it, the more I enjoy it. And I know it's developed, kind of this big cult, following.
Right.
I liked it from long ago. I really liked the Coen brothers back when they were making, Fargo and this, and even the ones that weren't quite as funny. But Raising Arizona, I love. I think that's just a really good, funny, different movie.
I've never heard of those.
You never heard of Raising Arizona with Nicolas Cage? It's really good. You should check it out. The dialogue is just amazing. It's really, really well written. It's really funny.
Huh.
You got to check that one out.
Yeah,
You ever seen Fargo either?
I've seen Fargo.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I would say is, for a movie that I think should be up there, I talk about the Rocky movies all the time. I
Yeah.
love them. I don't know if that deserves to be in the top 10 of all time.
Well, The Big Lebowski doesn't either, but it's in my top 10.
Right. I really enjoy. I'm a big documentary guy.
Yeah.
And those seem to come and go.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really hits home for me as much. And I picked up Netflix and pretty early on in the Netflix life cycle.
Yeah.
There is one movie though that gets no play that I think is fantastic, and that is Fantastic Mr. Fox. You ever seen that?
I have not seen it, and but I've heard it's very good. It's a stop motion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and George Clooney is a voice.
Bill Murray's in it.
And it's directed by, is it Wes Anderson? Yeah.
And
I need to see that. I've heard really good things about it.
At the time of my life when I picked that movie up, I was just like ready to break out of some proverbial cages.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic. So if you haven't seen that, it's pretty well done.
I need to
And
do
it's
that.
entertaining.
Is it on Netflix?
It comes and goes.
Okay.
I think I have it on DVD if you're interested, though. If
Okay.
you still have a DVD player.
I had to go find it the other day because we wanted to watch Christmas Vacation.
Right.
And it's not on any of the streaming that I can find.
It's on Amazon.
Is it Prime Video?
Well, you have to rent it.
No, I'm not renting
It's like
anything.
$2.
No, I'm not doing that. I own it on DVD.
Okay, so you had it.
I have it, yeah.
So it was worth going and finding.
I just had to bring the thing down, plug it in. But
Gotcha.
it's kind of a pain. Okay, worst movies of all time. Now, this was a little bit harder to track down because there are a ton of, top 15 worst movies, or all the movies that have a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes,
Right.
which is a really big list because, they've been making movies for over 100 years.
0.
And a lot of people create these lists. So I kind of curated a few. I'm going to limit this to 5.
Okay.
And these kind of continuously showed up on any of those lists.
Okay.
Now, I'll also give you a great critical snippet from a reviewer. And,
Okay.
and I mean like a real movie reviewer, not like an idiot like us in a comment field.
Right, okay.
And I have seen none of these. And I would hope you have seen none of these as well.
Can I get an over and under on these, if I've seen it or not?
If you
Give me the over under at 1 this time.
Yeah, if you've seen one of them, you'll win.
All right.
Because I've seen none of them.
Perfect. All right, there's the game.
Okay, the first one is called Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star. And it is from 2011. Adam Sandler has something to do with this movie, like he co-wrote it or produced it or something. And it's about this idiot who's like a grocery store bagger, and he finds out his parents were adult film stars, and so he decides he wants to be in the adult film industry, but he doesn't have, the greatest qualifications, let's say.
Okay.
That's the premise of the movie.
All right, sounds horrible.
It is horrible. It is on every list of the worst movie ever.
It got a 0.
It has a
okay.
0 on Rotten Tomatoes. That means across the board, every critic who's reviewed it has given it 0 stars.
So one thing I want to ask you before we go to the next one is, when I go on Rotten Tomatoes to see a movie review,
Yes.
the critic score and the audience score vary greatly.
Sure.
So
sometimes they're close, sometimes they don't. So like if you have let's say people like Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star, because it's so bad, it's funny to watch.
Right.
You may have it in the teens. So it can be that, or a really highly critically acclaimed movie that isn't all that popular with audiences happens a lot too. So
right.
yeah, they may say No Country for Old Men's 100, but I didn't like it. I actually love that movie.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So it looks really bad. My favorite quote from a reviewer was, "This may be the worst movie Pauly Shore has ever made. Think about that." So I didn't even know Pauly Shore was in it, but apparently he's in it as well.
Okay. Well, did he make it? Did he produce it? Maybe?
No, I think he's got a bit part in it. But I have seen
funny.
a couple of Pauly Shore movies. I think I saw Biodome, which was on one of the lists I saw.
Right.
Awful. There was one about a tank. I don't know. Okay.
The tank.
So you have not seen Bucky Larson.
No, I
we
have
can
not.
confirm that. The second one, this is maybe the only one that you would have possibly seen, is Battlefield Earth. John Travolta's in it. This is the L. Ron Hubbard adaptation into a movie about some science fiction book he wrote long ago.
Huh.
And he created Scientology, so John Travolta's like, oh, I got to do this movie about, that L. Ron Hubbard.
Right.
It's an awfully reviewed movie. It's about aliens conquering Earth, and I think John Travolta plays the head alien. He's got all the dreadlocks and stuff. It has a whopping 3 on Rotten Tomatoes. Now this is out of 100.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have not seen that.
So is L. Ron Hubbard still alive?
No, he's dead.
How long?
Well, I mean, they may say he's like, on a different planet. He's ascended.
Okay.
But he's been dead a while. I don't know, early 80s or something?
Oh, really?
Late
Okay.
80s? I don't really know. It has a 3. Here's a great quote from a review. A picture that will be hailed without controversy as the worst of its kind ever made. Without controversy.
Without controversy.
The worst of its kind
There
ever
will be
made.
no detractors.
That's from the year 2000. Okay. Number 3. This is a 1 and 2, and actually the first one and the sequel both made most lists. And it's called Baby Geniuses.
Okay.
The first one was from 1999. The second one's from 2004. I think like Kathleen Turner is in the first one, and it's about these 2 people, her and Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown, who figure out how to like crack baby language. And it's a stupid family movie, but it's talking toddlers. Right. And the second one I think is called Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
I may have actually seen that one. I can't count it though because I don't know for sure. But they like. I think there's another movie called like Baby's Day Out where the kids can talk.
That's a different one.
I think that may be the one.
Same idea.
Did the first one make enough money for them to be like, let's roll it back?
Apparently.
The budget's low enough. You just got to get a kid on tape.
Yeah, and they just
wind them, rewind them.
Yeah. The first one was 99. The second one was 2004. The first one has a 2 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think the second one has a 0. I couldn't actually find it at first glance. But great review comment here. Bad films are easy to make, but a film as unpleasant as Baby Geniuses achieves a kind of grandeur. Great quote there. So Baby Geniuses, that's our 3rd.
Do you think that the guys that get to write the critic, they see the movie and they're almost getting excited to
Yes.
hope that nothing good happens so that
Yeah.
they can write a really greasy
Yes.
comment?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah, this is like their Super Bowl, getting to write a terrible review. Okay, the next one is from 1988. It's called Mac and Me, and it is on every list as well.
Okay.
It has a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's basically an E.T. ripoff.
Okay.
So it is exactly like E.T. but with a kid in a wheelchair, and the alien even looks looks a lot like E.T. But it's a terrible movie. I watched the preview for it, and it's just like the previews are a good way to consume these. Don't go watch them,
yeah.
but go watch the preview. It's 2 minutes, and you can laugh through it. But what's so funny about Mac and Me, and one of the reviewers talked about this, that I think they realized how bad the movie was, so they decided to just sell it off. And so it's completely funded by McDonald's and Coca-Cola. where even if you go watch, it's like product placement at its worst.
Right.
So if you go watch the preview for Mac and Me, it's got like an intro by Ronald McDonald, and
Really?
he's sitting there talking about it, and then all throughout.
What year was that?
1988.
Okay, so you know what's wild about that is because I have a favorite video game review guy that does like reviews on bad video games.
Yeah.
And he reviewed a game that was a product placement for McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but it's essentially it's Mario 3 just ripped off 100%, and then there's like McDonald's characters in it.
I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, it's there must have been like a meeting. Where
It's a
like,
game from like the 80s?
Yeah, like 88 would be
Yeah.
right in line with when that is. So they must have been like, okay, what's popular right now?
Yeah.
Games and movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go
Let's
spend
just
some
make
dough
some
here.
of those.
Yeah.
And let's not actually make one. Let's just maybe buy the rights to the backbones.
So the great review from that movie, Mac and Me, is not only is it a pale imitation of E.T., it's also a thinly veiled feature-length commercial for McDonald's and Coca-Cola.
Right.
So check out Mac and Me. Last one on the list. This will be your last chance to have seen one.
Okay.
Are you a soccer fan? Or football?
Yeah, I am actually.
Uh-oh. So this movie is from 2015. This is just a few years old, and it's called United Passions. And one of the stars is Sam Neill, the guy from the first Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Basically, it's FIFA was going through all of these, public issue turmoils or public.
There was.
Blatt.
Yeah,
is that the guy?
Yeah. You're stirring this now. So Blatt there was game fixing.
Yeah.
There was point
A lot of
shaving,
corruption.
tons of corruption. Where the World Cup goes,
Right.
is a big deal.
So they had this big public image issue, and so they decided, you know what, let's make a movie celebrating how good we are and how much we've done for the game. So they made this movie called United Passions. It has a 0. It's on every list of the worst movie ever made. And it's basically a propaganda film for FIFA.
For
and
themselves.
it was funded, 90% of the funding came from FIFA itself. Wow. So really comical. And I loved this line. This is my favorite review. One of those rare films so unfathomably ghastly, you could write a better script while sitting through its interminable 110 minutes. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that FIFA stuff was horrible. And there's a documentary out called Icarus. Have you seen this?
No,
I've
I haven't.
mentioned it before. The guy who is in the movie or did the documentary, his name's Brian Fogel, and he was on Joe Rogan for, it's like a 3.5-hour podcast. And what
makes ours seem like a commercial.
Ours is a commercial. But what's funny is that, I guess it's not funny at all, is that there is corruption through all of these great sporting organizations.
Sure.
And the Olympics is one of them. And so one of the takeaways from this, the podcast about the documentary was, he's asked if it's possible to win an Olympic gold medal without being on steroids or doping or any of that stuff. And the guy says, no.
Yeah.
So, like, how far-reaching is this?
Well, I mean, that's what I always thought about the Tour de France. And, you know, being here in Austin, everybody loved Lance Armstrong and, proud of him. And he had, a pretty celebrated fall from grace. But
I don't know if that's right. Celebrated fall from grace?
Celebrated meaning, I don't mean celebrated like we have a celebration.
It was just everywhere.
It was everywhere.
Right.
But every single person, and I just saw this morning, I think the Tour de France winner from this year, they're tested positive.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way to do that without juicing. And I don't know. I wish they would just make it all, do whatever you want. Like, whatever you're comfortable with, do it.
Right, but then the guys would start taking it too far and dying.
I don't care. I don't care. If they want to die riding their bike up a hill, so be it.
I would tend to side.
People get to smoke as much as they want. It says right on the pack, this is going to kill you.
Yeah, but they also make it almost impossible to, like, continue that from a price perspective. Like the sin tax, have you heard about this stuff?
Yes.
Like, if you want to smoke, it's going to cost you $10 a pack. Or like the sugary drink tax in Cook County, Chicago.
Yeah.
You pay like an extra 8 cents per cup of soda.
What is diet?
That's a great question, because I think it applies to all sodas.
See, that's not fair.
It's not fair. So they're just looking for ways to make a couple extra bucks. Like there's the marijuana discussion about, like, if we're going to allow for there to be marijuana, then every legislator in the country is like, ooh, I think we could make some money here.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, if you're going to give people choice and then you're going to manipulate the market around it, I don't know if I love that. But it is something worth spending some time and thought about what you think about that. And the steroids debate kind of got me thinking about that, because in baseball, I'll use baseball as an example. It's no mystery that tons of players in baseball were on steroids. But then Roger Clemens is, I think he's like 45, throwing 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. And people are like, oh my gosh, you're not allowed to do that. But he's fine.
Yeah.
He's throwing heat. Everyone wants him to play.
That's what I'm saying.
Let him go.
It's up to him. And why do we act like sports has such sanctity? I mean, it is paid entertainment. So I go watch a movie. Did you see American History X?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, so this is the one with Edward Norton where he plays a white supremacist who goes to jail as sort of reformed. But he is completely jacked in that movie. I mean, he's huge.
Right.
And the movie before, Primal Fear, he looks like
tiny.
the littlest guy ever. And he's never been big in any other movie. He 100% went on a steroid cycle for that movie, as I'm sure Ben Affleck is doing at 45 years old to play this jacked up Batman.
Batman, yep.
But I don't care. he makes a better looking Batman, jacked up, and if he's willing to do that, like, why do people care that Roger Clemens did, but they're not like crying foul about Ben Affleck doing it?
So the argument is, if you're a sports purist, you want to be able to compare different eras against each other.
Right.
And if you go back to, so everyone's like, okay, Babe Ruth had this many home runs, and now we're looking at Mark McGwire so many years later, or Barry Bonds even a short time later. We're thinking, okay, there's no comparison to these athletes.
Yeah.
So why do we keep doing that?
That's the thing, is that all of the sanctity is for fans. Like, fans have this obsession with the outcome of sports, and like, see it for what it is. It's just entertainment. It's another reality show that is fun to watch. I mean, go on with your life. They don't care about the jersey that they wear. They don't care that they're a Yankee or a Red Sox or a Cowboy. That's their job. They're there to make as much money as they can in their prime earning years. You care the logo on the sweater.
Right.
They don't care.
Right, okay. I was hearing that backwards for a second.
Yeah.
So the way that I think of this is that people constantly want to have the greatest of all time discussion. And so you can't compare, let's say, Pete Maravich to Jordan, because there's difference in timing, or even Dr. J to Jordan.
Yeah.
Or you can't compare Maravich and Jordan to some future steroid basketball player that is, then it just makes everything old irrelevant. And there's purity to the old, unfiltrated stuff, because it's just person against the person.
Yeah.
Because if it becomes a science contest, then things might get a little weird. And I think that would actually tarnish the enjoyment you can get from the game.
Well, I think it's interesting, the greatest ever debate. There's so much likability that comes into play that nobody even talks about or mentions. So I think the Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and the Michael Jordan, whoever else, either Kareem or Bill Russell.
Okay.
So if people are like, well, Nicklaus is the greatest ever because he won 18 majors.
Right.
Well, then Bill Russell's the greatest basketball player ever. He won the most championships.
Right.
So Jordan's 6 don't even compare. I think Bill Russell won like 11.
Well, I know that the Celtics have won.
They won like 8 in a row, and I think they won like 10 in 11 years.
I think you're right on that.
So he's the greatest then. Well, no, because Jordan was more dominant. Great, then Tiger was the most dominant golfer ever, because in that period of time, he won everything. Anyway, the point is, Jack Nicklaus is supremely likable. Tiger Woods is kind of hard to like.
Right.
Michael Jordan is ultra charismatic. We love him.
he also wasn't exposed to social media scrutiny.
Yeah, that's true, because he may not be liked today.
He might be, severely tarnished like a Kobe would be.
Sure.
On the last note on the sports thing is I just think that sports and things that we do for enjoyment and entertainment, there is we talk about social contracts a lot, is to say, I want to know that you're not cheating.
Yeah.
And when someone breaches that, or it's become so commonplace for someone to be cheating, then we either have to rewrite the rules to let everyone cheat, or we have to say, okay, for real guys, no cheating.
Yeah.
You look at injuries in the NFL over the past 20 years, the game has changed dramatically to make the game safer for players. But the players are so big and so strong.
And so fast.
The force is just ramping
Right.
up. If you chemically enhance that, you're going to have out of this world injuries.
Well, and the equipment has enabled them to feel more bulletproof, right? If you're wearing a leather helmet, you're not rocketing yourself into someone else's head. You know, you're tackling a different way, but I got this helmet where I don't feel anything.
It's a borderline weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really wild thing to say. And I'm parroting off of this last point is to say that if this thing we're doing is for fun, and we keep ratcheting it, at some point it's just going to go over the top. And I don't know where that level is.
Man, we're almost there.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Jackson's one of my favorite athletes of all time. And Bo Jackson was a physical specimen, an athlete, a generation ahead. And he tore his hip out of his socket because his muscle was too strong to support the tendon. The shearing force of Bo Jackson's legs literally
His
broke his
muscle
hip apart.
was too strong, and so it broke his hip?
Okay, so here's what happens.
This sounds like a Paul Bunyan story to me.
He is essentially Paul Bunyan of football and baseball.
Yeah.
So Bo Jackson is running, and he's so powerful that he gets tripped up, and like just a slight grab of his ankle. If you watch the replay, it's just he's running, he gets caught, and then it's nothing that looks anything out of the ordinary. But because his body is so powerful, he rips his own hip out of socket.
Jeez.
So that was the end of Bo Jackson, too, by the
Yeah.
way. He played baseball for a couple more years. He was a White Sox, too.
Yeah.
And I was loving that in Chicago. But that being said, like, he's a generation ahead, and that was last generation, so we're looking at it right now.
Yeah.
In so many different ways. And the training that goes into this, all the nutrition and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, they're blowing up every week.
I feel that way sometimes. Like, I'm just so powerful, I'm just going to rip some part of my body apart.
That's how I feel when I'm playing Tetris. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
there's not enough
you
levels
do.
for me, bud.
You are the Bo Jackson of Tetris.
You know who's the greatest Tetris player of all time? My sister.
Yeah, me.
Next topic.
I want to...
You're a great Tetris player?
I'm amazing at Tetris.
Okay, well, we're going to have that out. Maybe live.
The list of things I'm good at is quite the list. Tetris,
Okay.
ping pong,
You are nice at ping pong.
and making beef jerky.
Okay. I thought potato chips would fall in there at some point.
I don't make good... I eat potato chips really well. I don't know. It's hard to call that a skill.
All right, well, I'll have to see your beef jerky game here at some point.
Okay, so did you... Okay, I think we're good on movies.
Did you read the last one?
Yeah. I threw it on the floor. I was going to say, what's the worst movie you've seen that isn't on the list? Can you think of the worst movie you've seen? I'll give you a minute to think.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this. There was a movie. It was like a spoof documentary, and I was watching it. It was all about how the suburbs are terrible and there are cultural vacuums and all this stuff. And then at the end of the movie, they were like, "Hey, the suburbs are just fine." And we were just joking. You're an idiot for watching this. And I was like, "Come on!" They hadn't changed a single piece of my mind. And I was like, "What is this?"
I love that.
Yeah, I'll find the
funny.
address if you're interested in finding it. But yeah, anything that like exists to trick me.
Yes, you don't like that.
I don't like that.
I like that. I think that's a good joke. I would get a kick out of that.
Well, I would be totally fine if it was like a joke that lasted 10 minutes, and they're like, this movie's actually not an hour long.
Yeah.
We don't even think is true what we're saying. Good luck.
I used to have this joke that I would tell when I was younger. Now I don't have the energy to tell it, but it was a really, really long joke with a really bad punchline.
Okay.
And the funny thing was, you know, you gotta keep you're keeping these people engaged in the joke for 6-7 minutes, and then you deliver this punchline. And every time I would tell it, like, I would die laughing as I told the punchline because I was so glad I had kept them enthralled to this terrible joke, and the joke's on them. And then they see me laughing, and they're like, I don't get it. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, I think the worst movie...
I don't know if I'd like to be the receiver of that.
No, it's not for you.
It's for you.
It's for me.
Why do I need to hear it then?
Because I need you to hear it in order for me to enjoy it.
I don't like that.
It's all about me.
I don't like those levers.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Yeah, these are things.
The worst movie I've seen, and this shows up on a lot of lists, is Batman and Robin. Which this is the... Okay, so you had...
With the freeze?
Yes.
Okay.
You had Michael Keaton.
Right.
He was in for 2 Batmans. And then you had Val Kilmer in for the 3rd Batman.
Okay.
And then, like, even he... And Michael Keaton wouldn't do it anymore. He's like, guys, this is stupid. Like, these are... I can't play Batman. Val Kilmer was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then they came to him again, and he's like, I can't do this, guys. This is really bad. And George Clooney was like, he's trying to get off of that Roseanne show. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And it's the worst, like, superhero movie, I think, ever.
Right.
It has a 10 on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's bad.
So it's him. Chris O'Donnell plays Robin.
Okay.
I think this is the one that has Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, there's a couple of... He has typical bad Schwarzenegger lines, but he's, like, shooting everyone with this freeze gun, and he's going, chill! Chill! And he says it, like, 2 or 3 times. Like, they couldn't even get a second one. Just have him say chill a couple times.
Yeah, you have him say something that's repeatable, like hasta la vista.
Chill out!
Yeah, use that hard OU sound that he makes. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, God.
Chill just does not do it.
But I did see that movie, I'm afraid. I did. And I think that's the one that, I may be getting the 3rd and 4th one wrong, but Jim Carrey was in one of those as the Riddler. Tommy Lee Jones was Two-Face. Uma Thurman was Poison Ivy. It's like they just, got a bunch of people and decided, well, this will be good. People will go see it.
Yeah. I remember that one very clearly because we saw it at a drive-in movie theater.
Ooh.
When I was very young. I'd say like 4th grade or something like that.
Drive-ins are cool.
Yeah, there was one in Chicago that was like out in the burbs, and it was like one of the only remaining ones.
Yeah.
And like every year, because it makes no money, they have to like run a fundraiser because no one wants it to go away.
Yeah.
They just don't want to.
They just don't want to go to it.
Exactly. And the mosquitoes were fierce, bro.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was bad. But
okay. Well, that concludes our movie discussion.
That's correct.
So let's switch gears to advice.
Okay.
And I'm going to lean on you because I think you retain some of these nuggets a little bit better.
Okay.
I've got a piece of advice that I don't like. I could have mentioned it, when we were talking about bad cliches, but this is advice I don't like. You have some good pieces of advice that would help our listener?
Yeah, so how many do you have?
1.
Okay, I've got...
I maybe have one good one, too. One decent one.
So you've got bad advice first?
I've got one of each.
Okay, I've got tons of both, so we can do whatever we want.
Let's go down your list.
Okay.
I'll give you my reaction.
So the best... And these are in no particular order.
Is this business advice, life advice?
A little both.
Okay.
It's just, when we were talking about it, I didn't ask for a qualifier, so you get everything.
Great.
Your query returned many results.
Did you call me queer?
Query? Okay, so here's one that I got from a mentor of mine in the tech sales world, and that is... You work for the customer, not the logo on your business card. And I thought that was really interesting because this has paid tremendous dividends in my career to say, when I have a customer and they know that I'm doing everything I can for them to get whatever they can out of this by trusting me, then when something goes wrong, like I know they'll have my back. They'll give me a proper effort in return. And then, oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but sales guys don't live at the same companies for 100 years anymore. So then if I go somewhere else, I know who to call. Or if that person leaves and goes to another company, I can call them and say, hey, you want to do that same thing over here again? Yeah, it'll work. And so that's been amazing.
Yeah, it reminds me of the sports one that's, the name on the front of your jersey is more important than the name on the back. But different idea. I like that.
They don't let me play sports too very much.
I noticed, yeah.
So I have to work with the ones that fit in my life now.
I like that one. That's a good one.
How about this? Whenever possible, owe nothing to anybody.
I haven't heard that, but I like that.
Well, and these aren't like cliche ones.
Yeah.
These are ones that like I heard.
This is good
remembered.
advice. Yeah,
and
that
so
you've been given.
and so this one comes local in the sense that people have our age, your age, my age, younger, potentially even a little bit older, are still carrying college debt.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few kids in college, and this is just one example, that one of them worked at a car dealership to pay for his college while he was there, and I thought that was really cool. And
Mm-hmm.
I was playing basketball and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking he's one of the only guys that I think is really going after this with a full effort, and that he cared so much about school because he was paying for it.
Yeah.
It cost him an extra 20 hours at the dealership to, and I know you don't like car dealerships.
I know.
And it was a Toyota too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And he cared so much more about his schooling than everyone around him because it was
Yeah.
coming out of his pocket. And if he let up at all, he wouldn't be in college at all. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so I think when people get into situations where they owe, they're not valuing the utility of what they're getting because, oh, I'll just pay you back later.
I agree.
Oh, by the way, it's going to cost you 8 ticks or 4
Yeah.
ticks, or, you know, if you have bad credit, it can cost you like 20%.
Yeah, I was that guy. I mean, I worked throughout college. I had, you know, I got a little bit of like Pell Grant, but it was student loan and me working. And I didn't want to be in college for 6 years because I couldn't afford to be in college for 6 years.
Right.
I was in college from 1994 to 1998, exactly 8 semesters, and was out. I mean, I couldn't afford to do it any other way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I valued it and I appreciated it and I wanted to pay off that student loan debt too as quick as I could.
So check this out. When I was in college, and we've talked about the basketball thing before, it was so hard, and there was a fixed dollar amount associated in my brain to what a college diploma would cost.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated in 3 years because I needed to get out of there because it was too much of a price for me to pay physically
Yeah.
to be around far superior athletes every day.
Yeah. So
deal
did
with
I say
that.
4? I meant 2 years. I graduated.
You
in 2
waited
years.
2 years?
Yeah.
You serious?
No, I'm not.
I was going to say.
When I said 4 and you said 3, I was like, wait a second.
Wait, we're going down here. But
yeah, right at 2 years.
It was brutal, but there's all kinds of ways to go to college and not rack up the full bill.
Yeah.
So when I mentioned the 3 years, one semester I took 30 credits, and I took like 15 on campus, and then I took another 15 online.
Jeez.
And it was like going to school. It was not easy, but it was like getting 2 years of work out of one,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same thing you do in the reverse when you try to go get a job that pays more money. You're
Yeah.
trying to get 2 years out of one.
Yeah.
And so I just don't understand the disconnect on how people don't think about that. And this also, and the final point on this one is, this also relates to like what you own in life is cars, houses, those big purchases that we talk about are, if you buy too much, you owe someone in perpetuity, essentially.
Yes.
Or if you change houses, or you start moving from one house that fits your budget and then go to one that doesn't 10 years later, you're not getting out ever.
Yeah, it's the biggest piece of advice I've given to family members or friends who are trying to save. Like, you cannot carry any month-to-month debt. I mean, outside of your home and your car payment, like, credit card debt is just the absolute
Monster.
worst thing you can do.
Yeah. That's one of like today's predators.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've never thought about it that way, but like, yeah, that'll get you. And
Well,
it'll keep you
when
down.
I was in college, all those credit card companies were on campus every day.
Yep.
In the quad, and they give you a free T-shirt. You sign up for this credit card, and you're preying on these 18, 19-year-old kids who have no idea how to manage that kind of. Now they just know they've got they can buy a round of shots now, and
Right.
and they get themselves in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I had a buddy who took college loans to like live his life too, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Are you kidding?" And he would go to Taco Bell and get a taco, and I was like, "That taco is going to end up costing you like $40." What are you doing?
It's a good taco, though.
Yeah, well, it was good at the time. Okay, so.
Give us two more. Give us two good ones.
Okay.
And then we'll run through some bad advice.
Here's one. Buy the truth and do not sell it. What does that make you think?
Buy the truth and do not sell it. It means, to me, hold on to the truth above everything else.
Right. It's like,
which I love that. I've never heard it put like that.
It's actually from the book of Proverbs.
Oh, okay.
But it's been told to me many, many times. And having a family that lives in the financial sphere is one of these things. And so it's accumulate true things and don't accumulate false things.
Yeah.
And then don't trade your true thing for a false thing.
Don't trade your integrity. And yeah, that's good one. That's a great one.
Yeah, it's a nice little one-liner. And then on that same note, I have one for this. I heard this one in a pit long ago, and that is, no trader ever went broke taking a profit. So we're talking Bitcoin the other day.
Yeah.
And I remember several times trading that I would have a great trade on, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a killer. And then I hold on to it too long.
Yeah.
And it falls off the edge of the...
So the idea behind that is, don't kick yourself because you sold it and then it went up even more. Like, you made a profit, move on. That's a good thing.
Bulls make money, bears make money, hogs get slaughtered.
Yeah, good. All right.
Okay, I'm trying to see if I have... Oh, this was another, like, a little bit looser of one. I had one of my friend's dad told me this when I went to college, and he said, have as much fun as you can and still get C's.
Yeah.
That was it.
Because if you straddle that line wrong...
Right.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have an issue.
That's good.
What's yours?
Well, I don't have a great one, so I'm going to defer to your good ones. I'll give you the one I think is bad. And so I saw this. You've seen this quote before. I saw it on a plaque. My mom is she just retired, but she was an elementary school counselor, counselor for a long time. She just retired, and she had this little plaque on her desk that, faced the students. And it is the Winston Churchill quote that says, never, never, never give up. And I was sitting there talking to her, and I was like, hey, this is terrible advice. She's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you can't tell people never, never, never give up. Like, say never give up. And that means, hey, work hard, don't give up.
Right.
But at some point, there is a point in many things where you should give up. That's the smart thing to do.
Yes. You need to pack your bags.
Yes.
And find a new,
And she disagreed with me, and I said, okay, let's say I decided today I'm going to play professional golf. I'm going to be a professional golf player. And so I got to practice as much as I can, so I'm going to quit Amazon. I'm going to quit my job.
Right.
Not going to work anymore. All I'm going to do is practice.
Right.
And after about 9 months, I'm still about a 7 handicap. I feel like I'm improving, but I'm like a 7 handicap.
Okay. For those of you not golfers, that's like pretty good, but like not really going to get you anywhere serious.
Correct. And now I'm 42. Mm-hmm. And then I'm putting in more time, and I'm kind of going in debt. Like, you see where this is going.
Right.
At some point...
Time to give up.
Time to give up, Chris. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be a professional golfer. Give up. Go do something that you don't want to do as much. Sorry, that's how it goes.
Oh my gosh. So that's funny you say that, because I have two in the middle that are like, can be good advice, but can also be horrible
Is
advice.
that one of them, the Churchill
And
quote?
the one is when you're a kid, they always say, hang in there.
Yeah.
And I would be like, sometimes it's not time to hang in.
Yeah, sometimes it's time to bail out.
Retreat and, figure out what the next plan is. Hang in there. But then on the same time, it's like, hang in there is the same thing as never give up. It's like...
Yes, it could also be, hey, times are tough. Like, hang in there, buddy.
Hunker down. They always used to say hang in there when I was playing baseball. It's like, he's going to hit me. He obviously can't throw straight. We're all seeing this, right?
Yeah, I'm going to back out so that I don't get beamed. I don't need first base. I need my ribs intact.
It's like I'm trying to go play that new Zelda game tonight. Okay, and then the other one that is in the middle is never buy anything, lease everything that you can.
Well, That's advice that you've been given?
Yeah, so
I've never heard that.
There are two,
and that sounds terrible. That sounds not like good advice.
Okay, so there are two major different schools of thought on this, and one is own all assets, and then if you have to be pretty cash heavy to be able to buy all your assets.
Sure.
But then there's another counterparty to this, and that's a very straightforward traditional model, and you can make it work. Then there's another school, which is lease everything you can and just have a number that fits in your budget that you can have to run your life. And then as things start to deteriorate or depreciate in your...
It's not your problem.
It's not your problem. It goes away, you get another one.
See, I that's not me.
And then you always have the nicest thing, too.
I'm in the former, not the latter. I'm most interested in the long-term cost of a thing.
Right.
And so if you know, if I'm going to have to lease this over a certain amount of time, and then therefore, like, I extrapolate it costs me this much, then sorry, I'm going to buy it, even if it's more up front. Like, I'm interested in that ultimate total cost of a thing.
TCO, total cost of ownership.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's good advice. So that's one that, like, there's a fulcrum that you can swing on. And I was like, do I really want to buy a new car every time?
Yeah.
Or would I rather lease it? And I'm working on, I got my wife a lease on her car.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids are going to destroy it. It's going to be it's going to smell bad. I don't
You're
want it.
going to want to get rid of it.
Exactly.
Right.
And then
in
it
the
can
short
be
term.
it can be their problem again. But it's something to think about. If I had a buddy who told me this, and he was like, I would lease my TV if I could. And just to say, like, they're going to have new technology in a few years, and they're going to be sending me new cable signal. Well, I want to be able to get it.
Effectively, what you're doing with your cable box, if you have a cable box or your modem, you're leasing it. Yeah.
I'll swap you out, yeah. Worst advice I ever got. Okay. Number one is do the safest thing.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that goes without explaining.
Yep.
Because do the safe thing all the time. Get ready to be bored.
Yeah.
The more you make, the more you'll spend.
That's stupid.
That's what I call poor man economics.
That reminds me, do you remember when there was a big hubbub in the NBA? I'm sorry I always go back to sports.
It's
sports, but
great way to understand things.
Patrick Ewing was, when they were, NBA was going through a lockout, I believe, and they were talking about, you know, Patrick Ewing was being interviewed, and someone was saying, you know, yeah, but you guys spend all this much money, or you guys make a ton of money. That's what it is.
Right.
Already. He's like, yeah, we make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money.
Right.
As if that was the justification to get paid more. Like, I need more. Look at all this money I'm spending. I'm like broke.
Yeah, that's, you know, there's one. This is something that goes in that honorable man category, is like the honorable person, because we're sitting here making fun of Patrick Ewing, but if he had been like, yeah, I'm good. You guys, we can sit here as long as we want. I made enough. I got it stocked away. I can pay rent for 22 months in a row.
Yeah.
And also eat whatever I want in that time.
Yeah.
So have out your squabble.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting here ready to play basketball again when you're ready. Oh, by the way, I could use a break. My knees are going to get bad.
Yeah, I'm about to fall out anyway.
So, yeah, I think there's a tremendous honorable thing to being ready for tough times. Which the more you'll make, the more you'll spend is like the opposite of that.
Totally.
Okay. Hashtag YOLO, also bad advice.
Yes.
You
bad
only live
advice,
once.
And it's also a bad tattoo to get.
Okay, this is one that I hate. Now, I don't say the word hate very much, but I in a situation where occasionally I will hear little snippets from the housewives of whatever city or one of those Bravo shows.
Yes.
And I hear this pretty regularly, and it is, you do you.
You do you.
Yes, and that's just like, it's just licensed to whoever this is the hearer to be just like completely
an
selfish.
idiot. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you feel like being an idiot, just be an idiot.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it's you. Who are they to tell you not to be yourself?
Yeah, well, and so that hits on something, which is like, yeah, be yourself, but don't need for someone else to tell you that you need to do what you need to do, because if you're having that question, you might be towing the line of like pretty selfish.
Being a jerk. Yeah, don't it's not, it shouldn't be a license to act like a jerk.
Right.
Which
So-
it usually is what it's intended to do.
And so I used to do occasional stand-up comedy on like open mic nights, and one of my bits was about how people hear these sayings on TV or they read them on social media, and they're like, "Here's how I'm going to live my life this week," and they go out there with like armed with a meme, and they're like, "Yeah, you do you,"
Yeah.
and they go out there and just get obliterated. And
Yeah.
they're like, "Okay,
Man.
clicking around for a new one."
Let me find a new mantra.
I need a new life motto.
I need a new MO.
There's so many of those online. Like LinkedIn is a killer one. They have new little inspirational sayings all the time.
Yeah.
You can't have that many life mottos because they're counter to each other more often than not.
For sure.
So you do you, or anything any housewife of any city has ever said ever is what I have written down here.
Which is mostly you do you. That's mostly what they say.
They say stuff and stuff like that.
I don't watch that show. The only thing I know about it or those shows is that it's incredibly loud, the volume. Like if I'm
Oh my
flipping the
gosh.
channels, I don't know how they do it, but I go from one channel to Bravo, and Bravo is like 4 times louder than
Yep.
CNN.
Yeah, I try to get I try to get an understanding of why people like those shows, and the really basic only thing I can hear and understand that makes sense to me is it's like watching a train wreck,
Yeah, that's right.
because you can't not watch it, and
And there is some there's some good feeling in your own life when you see how
it's
rotten.
the Jerry Springer effect.
Yeah, man, these people are rotten.
I'm good.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm not like them.
Yeah, they're that's such a thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So when I'll hit one political topic here, and I'll leave it at that. Is that anytime there is a group of the population that another group of the population can look down on for any reason, be sure that a percentage of them will do so, because people love to look down on someone else because it makes them feel good. It's the same reason you have
Sure.
bullying. It's the same
Yeah.
reason you have all these disputes on things that are largely solved. But yeah, that's my
Yeah, I'm
political
probably
piece.
guilty of that at times too. I mean, you think about
Yeah,
times that you say something bad about somebody, and I'm like,
I was just doing that to pump my tires.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to talk about what's annoying Lee and Chris this week? Are we ready for?
Yes, I have 2. You have 2. I understand.
I have 2. You have 2.
All right, you do yours first.
Okay, I'm driving around Houston yesterday. I see this sign for this new experience that's in Galveston at a Landry's, and it's called their 5D theater, and it's some shark show.
5D.
5D,
So there's 5 dimensions.
apparently.
Okay.
And I'm wondering
I gotta sit back for this.
I'm wondering the marketing table. Some guy's like, "Hey, we should do a 3D theater." Another guy's like, "We should do a 4D theater." And this original guy was like, "There's no 4D. There's only 3Ds." And then another guy goes, "We should do a 5D." And it just, woo, they just go nuts, and they put it on a billboard.
It's like, if we're already gonna make it ridiculous, let's make it really ridiculous.
Yes, that will lead into my second. But there is no 4th, and there's no 5th D. There's 3 Ds. And it's a stretch to even say a 3D theater is 3D, because it really isn't. But I get what they're saying.
So 3D, when we say 3D, we're talking about time, space, matter, right?
No, we're talking about this way, and this way.
Okay, so we're talking planal.
Planal.
Okay.
Correct. Now, what they're trying, a 5D theater, I went and read, like, what is this? And, your chair, like, shakes, and it's, like, cold, or, like, mist hits
Really?
you. Yeah, that's what they consider 5D. But I think they're confusing senses
Right.
with dimensions.
Let's go all 6 then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they gotta hand you a lollipop. They're in
Yeah.
a certain scene. They're like,
Taste, smell.
this is the taste of that lollipop in the show.
Yeah, so that was really annoying to me in my literal mind.
That is fantastic.
5D theater.
5D theater.
Annoying me this week.
Okay, I've got one. Being an adult and having to diet. Because
Yeah, that's the ultimate bummer.
brutal, man. Because if I had time to work out, I could eat whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
If I And if I dieted and worked out, I'd be in great shape.
Yes.
But I have time only to diet. So I'm locked into this spot where it's like, I don't get to eat the things I want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like always a little uncomfortable. These diets mess with your energy.
Yeah.
So like I told you, I was on that keto diet.
Are you not?
I
no?
am.
Okay, you still
I've
are.
lost
Yeah.
12 pounds.
I know.
Too.
You look
So,
amazing.
Thank you. I'm trying to be on a magazine cover.
It'll happen.
But never, ever, ever give up.
Yeah, never give up on this.
So the diets are tough, and they're all kind of faddish. And when you stop doing the diet, you gain weight back. So you're perpetually in this cycle of having to not eat what you want,
Right.
or would enjoy, because you're a parent and you don't have time to work out.
Yes.
So
It's a bummer.
at some point, that'll change for me, and I'll start being able to get in the gym a little bit.
The minute you get the access and the means to unlimited cookies, you can't really eat them anymore because then you're an adult and you're going to be too fat. It's like, man, I was working so hard just to be able to go buy a bunch of cookies.
Oh my gosh, there's so much truth to that, because
Yeah.
the way it works is when you're young and you can have as much fun, you can stay up all night.
Yeah.
I could stay up for like 2.5 days at one point in my life,
Yeah.
and I had no money,
Yeah.
and that was tons of fun. But like, I wish I could have like called my future self and been like, "Hey, future Lee, can I borrow 10 grand?" I'd be
There
like,
was a
yes.
There was a span there from like 23 or 4 when you're like have a job,
Right.
making a little bit of money, and your metabolism hasn't changed at like 28. Like those years were the best years of my life because I ate whatever I wanted, I drank whatever I wanted, I wasn't working out, and I didn't gain a pound.
You're just
Those are
rocking
the
it,
best
yeah.
years of my life. And then somewhere around like 28, I saw a picture of myself. I was like, whoa, what happened?
Relax, bud.
Yeah, and I had gained like 15 pounds in like a year. You know, no mayonnaise and diet sodas and light beer.
Tough go.
Okay,
Let's hear you.
my second thing that is annoying me are the fireworks stands that generally say something like buy one, get 11 free.
Right.
Like,
So if you're not from the state of Texas,
is this
or
only a Texas thing?
there's states that have fireworks that are
Okay.
legal. So like I remember in Chicago, you had to drive to Indiana
Oh, okay.
to see stuff like that. But there's these stands on the side of the road, and they're obviously run seasonally.
Yeah, and there used to be like buy one get one free. Like, okay, that sounds like a pretty good deal.
Right.
And then there's buy one get 3 free. And I have.
And then Joseph A. Banks enters the scene.
Yeah,
and he's
Joseph
like-
A. Bank. Buy one suit get 6 free.
My wife calls Joseph A. Banks Jose Banks.
It does. It's got a.
It's
an
hilarious
A.
and perfectly phonetically correct.
But you have to think I'm some kind of idiot to think that I'm going to go, oh my gosh, I'm buying one
11
and they're
for
going to give
free?
me 11? Man, I'm going to go
Killer.
buy it before they realize that I'm making out with all these free things. So a quick funny story about this. I've had this little annoyance for years.
Uh-huh.
I was a bartender in college, and we would get a bunch of people in this bar. This was in San Marcos, and I was standing there and I was talking to one of the regulars, and I said, "Yeah, I passed this fireworks stand the other day in Martindale, and it says buy one get 11 free. It's so ridiculous. What idiot puts that up?" The dude sitting next to him owns that fireworks stand. And he goes, I'm the idiot. I own that fireworks stand. I was like, oh, what I meant to say was, great marketing.
Great deal. Thank you for giving me 11 for the price of one.
But I did not back down. I was like, I just feel like you think I'm really stupid if you think that is going to entice me. I'm sorry. Maybe other people appreciate all the 11, the debt you're going into giving us fireworks.
So I wonder what the collective IQ is of folks that buy fireworks versus the people that don't buy fireworks. Because
I don't know. I buy fireworks still. I just don't. I don't think I'm getting a great deal. I know that this is a price for 12.
I hope someday, somewhere down the line, there will be like a database for everything that ever happened, and then you can take a tool like Tableau. Tableau is like a tool where you can grab fields and then compare, and it'll be perfect data. And you'll be like,
That would be nice to see.
and you'll be like, how many hot dogs were eaten in the original Yankee Stadium between 1901 and what did they rip it down? 2001 or something.
Something like that.
So how many hot dogs were eaten there in 50 years? And you're like, oh, that was funny to know.
How many did I eat in those years?
7.
Yeah.
How many times have I watched The Office reruns?
Yeah.
10,000.
Mm.
So I think that would be really wild.
That's not coming.
It's not, but yeah, data like fireworks buyers are like, are these people smarter or less smart? Because you'd have to have killer data.
I don't want to answer that because I'm in that category.
Right, and I would be too if I wasn't scared to walk up to a stand filled with gunpowder.
Oh, you don't like it's just a combustible situation, literally.
Yeah, there's just these guys hanging out there. Yeah.
I use literal correctly right there. I want to know.
Good job.
All right, what's your last annoyance for the week?
Okay. The fact that popularity of an idea is so confused with being correct or truthful or right. So the one of the original builders of Facebook was on CNBC yesterday, and he gets on up the stage and he says, this social media is wearing out the social fabric of our world, because I can go with $1 and a message and subtly convince you of what I think, because every time you log into this, there will be messages and there will be people that you know that think the same thing coming in and putting these around these messages. So it'll be like, oh my gosh, everyone thinks this now. And that may not be true at all.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's really wild. And so there are some really scary statistics of people that think socialism is good. And that's all over the internet. You come in with a few dollars and another country, like we're talking about Russia involved, you can come in and promote whatever you want on these sites, and people are like just buying it.
Yeah.
And it's gained enough speed where I think it's entered some dangerous levels. And if you're a socialist, good luck, but I'm not gonna.
We're not pandering for the socialist viewer.
No, if you're a socialist, sit on tax. Actually, I'm kidding. I'm 6. But yeah, that message of, hey, you can say whatever you want, and not only does it not have to be true, but you can make sure everyone sees it for another 8 cents a click or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
that's
pretty brutal.
That's a somber annoyance, but
I know.
I would share it.
No, what are we gonna do?
Hey, it is what it is. It's annoying us.
Well, yeah. Well, all these things that are annoying me, it's like, okay, so what can I do to like make them not annoy me? And the answer on all these social media ones is to get off social media, or to use it less, exercise some balance, which would fit in your key 3.
I would say, I think just complain about them. That's what this platform is for. If it's annoying you, just complain about it.
Yeah.
And then it'll go away. It'll just like flutter away.
Leave a review.
Yeah.
Write something in the comments section.
Yeah. All right.
Anyways, thanks for your time today. It's been a good time. Chris, any closing thoughts? We will see you next week for the special edition Christmas version of the Unconsumed podcast.